This is Rising Phoenix Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Rhodes. This podcast is for men struggling with an unwanted divorce. I interview experts on divorce, mental health, and I provide insights gained from my own divorce journey. You are not alone. Join me. Joining me today is Dr. Chet Sunde. Dr. Sunde, let's just jump right into this. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Hi, Michael. Thanks for having me. I'm a clinical psychologist. I've been practicing for a little over 20 years now. I'm in Northern California. Went to a military academy out of high school. Thought that I was going to make a career out of that, but I was always interested in psychology, trying to figure myself out, figure out how, people operate. And so I ended up going into that field. But my military, I was in the Army for a while. That background helped me a lot with my career. My private practice has been mostly working with initially combat vets for the first decade or so, and then switched to more law enforcement, firefighters, other first responders, really treating and trying to prevent post-traumatic stress disorder. But I had a little of everything in private practice. I had little old ladies dealing with, age, and college students, dealing with their first time off on their own. And a little bit of couples. I was pretty much an individual therapist. I would help couples mostly through helping the individual, sometimes each of them separately, usually just one of them. And for the last 6 years, I've been a full-time at the local veteran home, working with retired vets. I got a little bit of private practice on the side, doing a lot of writing these days. So I had a book that came out last year now, called Platonomy, which is Platonic Autonomy. And it's about really Plato's Republic and how that's a psychology book, and how that applies to modern therapy and neurology. And I write a lot for Substack and Psychology Today. I think you found me on Psychology Today.
Yes, sir. Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. And so I'm new to the writing just this last year. So it's kind of I'm new to doing these kind of talks. So I'm pretty excited to talk to you.
Yeah, your blog post on Psychology Today really caught me, because it talks about things that we definitely struggle with as divorced men. By the way, thank you for your service. I veteran as well. Unfortunately, you were in the wrong branch. I was in the right one.
Right on.
United States Navy. So it's too bad.
We need both of us.
But this is the stuff that really it's what we struggle with. It's what I had struggled with. It's been 6 years for me. It's what my listeners struggle with.
About the same for me.
Yeah, the people. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. I swear, almost everyone I talk to, it's like, oh yeah, I went through 1 or 2 or 3. I think yesterday I had someone who went through 4. So
I've got a couple of those buddies.
yeah, it's crazy. It's so rampant. So okay, so the premise of your blog post was about being sort of, I don't know if it's sure or mindful or whatever, but of like, are you dealing with anxiety or are you dealing with emotion? I think this is fascinating to me. I think this is going to be very interesting because I think it's very tricky. It seems like it's pretty well intertwined in a divorce situation. I can't speak to anything else. I didn't have PTSD for combat or anything like that, but divorce seems to me like it's kind of intertwined. So maybe first we can identify what is the difference here. What is anxiety by definition, and then what is an emotion by definition?
Absolutely. It's very important. I think they often come together. So they're often mixed. Yeah. Rarely is it just one or the other. I'll start with the emotions. And that's what people I think are less familiar with. They often call anxiety emotion. Emotion comes from what you care about. It really comes from love. There's different types of love. You love your dog if you have one, probably. You might love your career, love your spouse, love your children. Those are all different forms of saying that something's really important to you. And it comes from your heart, so to speak. And we usually feel our emotions kind of here. I think that's why the ancients called it, your heart. And there's a specific physiology with the emotions. And I say there's only really 4 core emotions. Um, and so when what you care about or who you care about, when there's good news about that or a good situation, you feel a good emotion, usually some kind of happiness. And when there's bad news or a bad situation, you don't like it, and it's usually either anger if there's some kind of injustice going on, sadness if there's some kind of loss, guilt if you've actually caused the harm to what you care about. And guilt gets mixed up with survivor guilt and anxiety all the time.
Sure.
But I encourage people to feel their true emotions and differentiate it from the anxiety. So, what's the difference? Well, physiologically, anxiety is the fight or flight response. I think most people have heard of that sometime
Sure.
in their lives.
Yeah.
So, anxiety is fight or flight. It comes from the lizard brain, kind of the lower part of your brain,
Yep.
and it has to do with survival. And it's very helpful for survival. If all our senses, everything's going through our brains, and it goes to that part of our brain first. So if somebody throws something at you, if you trip and fall, you respond, you catch yourself before you're even aware that you're doing it, because everything's going through there first to keep you alive, keep you safe. Um, but when we are told that our emotions aren't okay,
Mm.
as often men are told most of our emotions aren't okay. Anger is the one that might be okay,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
sadness isn't,
No. No.
Or for women, the stereotype can be like they can be sad, but they're not supposed to be angry,
Right. Right.
right? Be
Yeah.
nice.
Right.
Um, if we treat our emotion as something that's not okay because of rules we've learned, or because we're just afraid of getting overly emotional, then we're treating it as a threat. And so what's the response to any threat? Some level of fight or flight. And the physiology, everybody's experienced anxiety. It's tension, fidgetiness, blood pressure goes up, uh, stress hormones go up, our thinking goes down. We get very negative in our thinking, which is a good survival response if you're really in danger, but it's not good if you're not in danger. So that's kind of a general overview.
Yeah. Okay. So a couple questions there. Okay. So,
Yeah.
um, what is the mechanism? Well, let me cover this first. When you're in fight or flight, your
Mhm.
brain literally thinks there is a significant danger to your life, right? It's not my ex is mad at me or whatever, or my kids or any of those types of things. Like you're it's not life or death, but your body, your brain perceives it as like life or
Is
death,
gear
correct?
is absolutely, and but it's a matter of degree. In a reality, if you were suddenly faced with real life and death, you wouldn't think, you would either flight or you would fight. But rarely in civilized society are we faced with anything like that,
Yeah, very true. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So we I didn't talk about the other. So there's different parts of our brain, different parts of our mind. You and I are talking from our neocortex, from our smart part. We're consciously aware, we're thinking. Um, our limbic system deals with our emotions, and the lizard brain, the brain stem, and so forth, deals with that survival part. So all three parts can be engaged at the same time. And that one's always on the alert. So if I think about a problem, we have tons of problems in life. We have bills, we have relationship problems, right? Um, that's a form of a threat. And it's almost like the analogy I use is if your child, say your 7-year-old, was listening to an adult conversation about the bills, about whatever thing, they might start getting really worried, like something bad's gonna happen. And you might go like, oh no, no, no. Things are okay. It's just an issue I got to deal with. But the dumb part of your brain, it is dumb. It's like a computer. It's amazing in what it does, but it by itself doesn't know the difference between a problem and a threat. So it
Yeah.
gears.
Yeah.
And if you're not aware and kind of dealing with that child within and calming it down, then it can take over at some point.
Yeah. Okay. So you said something that fascinates me, and I'd love to know more about it. You said when we are in anxiety, fight or flight, we immediately, I'm paraphrasing because I can't remember everything
Mm.
because I partied a lot when I was younger. you, you said that we either look for the negative or we focus on a negative. What is that mechanism? Like why do we do that if we're already fucking freaking out kind of fight or flight? Like why are we then amplifying it by looking for negative?
Because you're looking for the threat.
Yeah.
That makes sense for survival.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Don't be optimistic in a
Right,
dangerous
that's true.
situation.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good
Think
point.
the worst case scenario so you can be ready for it, right? And either fight it or flight it. But what we really do in general is freeze. Out in the wild when faced with a bear, a wild animal might play dead because it's not going to outrun it and it's not going to fight it, right? Um, because we still have our smart part going, we still got, we're very complicated compared to the wild animals. Um, and so we don't just start running as soon as we feel anxiety or start fighting as soon as we feel the fight part, which is irritability. What we do is we just get all locked up with it. And so then it starts to kind of take over in the sense that blood pressure's up, cortisol's up, the blood flow. The most extreme form of anxiety is shock. When your body's going into shock, all the blood's going to your core, so you don't bleed out, and you can't think. That
Yeah, yeah.
and so a matter of degree is that you stop thinking rationally and you start looking for worst case scenario, which then feeds back, right? It becomes this feedback loop.
Yeah, 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 and we get stuck in that. I see it all the
Yeah.
time. And
And you're not breathing.
I've learned how to sort of get out of it myself, but
Good.
um okay. So you talk I want to cover this. You talk about emotions as sort of values based. You kind of covered that. We didn't use that word, but let's
Yeah.
cover that a little bit deeper. So
Yeah.
and then you obviously anxiety is sort of threat based. Can you talk a little bit
Right.
more about what you mean by values based when it's emotion?
Again, what you really care about.
Yeah.
So, we can care about ideas. Yeah, I work with a lot of combat vets, and they swear an oath to uphold the Constitution. They love their country, um, but usually when it comes down to it, in a firefight or cops on the street, they're fighting for the person next to them, and they might even give up their life for that person because that bond, because it's a form of love. And so it can be that extreme situation, but rarely is it. It's we're talking about divorce, right? You love this person at some point, maybe you still do. Often we love the idea of what it was supposed to be, right? And if there's children involved, there's finance, there's so much that's important to you that triggers emotion.
So how you handle these things is definitely different. And I do want to get to the intertwining because
Mm.
I think that absolutely, well, you kind of mentioned it. They all kind of happen at the same time, or they
Hmm.
can. So, but let's
Hmm.
talk about if we're talking about, we'll start with emotions. What are some of the things that, I guess, um, how do you handle it, tackle it, deal with it, triage it, whatever?
Sure. So I'll give you an example. I think the one I used in the blog that you read was a guy comes in and says here's to me because he has an anger problem, right? And I say, oh, okay, great. Give me an example. Tell me about a situation where you were angry. But I have them describe the situation, and I watch their body language, and usually right away, usually they come in nervous anyways, right? Nobody wants to come talk, and no guy wants to come talk to a guy about this stuff, right? So there's already anxiety about that, but now we're talking about something important to them, and so what is happening is clear, is anxiety. There may be emotion underneath that, probably is, but I'm not seeing anger. I'm seeing fight or flight, and men, especially, your stereotypical man, meaning somebody who's been, in difficult sports or been in the military or first responders. They're trained to be ready for pain and to go towards the danger. And part of our training is to ignore um, your safety, right? So they're really good at ignoring their body. So I start with, well, describe what that anger feels like, and they may not be able to describe anything. I have to kind of point out things like, well, look at your leg, your leg's bouncing, right? Oh, I always do that. I go, yeah, but you might, but that's anxiety. And I start naming it and I start getting them to start bringing the anxiety down and then tell me, go back to the situation. What was the emotion there? And usually it may have been anger, but usually, especially in a situation, relationship situation, underneath there's a lot of pain and
Yeah.
sadness,
Yeah. Shame
and then
even.
anger,
Yeah.
and then sadness. It kind of
Yeah.
comes in waves.
Yeah. So it's getting clear, first of all, right? Because it
Yeah,
sounds like it is enmeshed, right? It sounds like you, at least for men, I feel like because our emotional abilities, our emotional intelligence is just, we're lacking that we can't, it's tough for us to even get clarity on what we are dealing with, right?
sure. Uh, I'm 57. You're younger
40,
than me, but not a lot younger than me, I suspect.
48.
Uh, okay, so we're from a time, but especially if you go back a generation or so, you grow up on movies like John Wayne and just stories. But it's true of Western culture in general that men are taught to be stoic with the small s, which is like just don't show your emotion. And again, crying's for pansies.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
don't let anything bother you.
Yeah.
So we're trained that we're not supposed to have emotion. It's a sign of weakness. So
Right.
when something real happens and a real emotion starts to come up, right away it triggers anxiety most of the time.
Yeah.
And the emotion might not even be felt.
Mm.
It's suppressed. We tense up, we push down. When people they choke up with sadness, well, that choking is anxiety cutting it off. So you don't cry.
So if you are facing a loss like
Mhm.
divorce, where do you start with the anxiety or the emotion? Like which one do you, or do you do like,
If I'm
yeah,
talking to somebody about it,
sure, yeah. Like what, like it's like to that person, if a guy's going through it now and he's just all fucked up, for lack of a better description, like
yeah.
which one is he going after first? I mean, first he's got to figure out what he's feeling, but like which, let's say he gets to, it's the grief and the loss and the anxiety of the future. Like which one is he going
Well,
after?
so I spend a lot, like the first session and every session to some extent until they get it down. But for a patient or for anybody in trying to sort this stuff out, anxiety always, first and always, needs to be looked for and brought down.
Hmm.
That's the key.
Yeah.
It will unlock the rest. Um, Sometimes when the anxiety goes down, you know what's underneath it? Nothing. Uh, I mean, that's not usually the case, but sometimes that's the case. Like they were really angry about something. No, they were very irritable and trying not to. And when they relax, they're like, yeah, it really wasn't a big deal. Road rage is like that all the time. People get road rage, and then afterwards they be like, I don't know why I lost because it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't emotion. It was unmanaged fight or flight. So I always start with that. I teach the person, and it's simple. You breathe and relax your muscles, get the blood flowing to your head, and then we talk about whatever's going on.
So if you get with the you get the anxiety sort of, I don't want to say out of the way, but let's just use that phrase,
You get it managed enough,
managed, and
dropped enough.
then you can start looking at the emotion of it, what you're actually feeling underneath, if there is
Yeah,
something underneath.
yes. I mean, there usually is, but not always.
Yeah.
And then the key. So with grief, I mean, grief is easy in a sense, like something you really care about. Either someone's died, or the relationship's died, or there's a disconnect, there's a loss of some sort, and that hurts. So describe the pain, just describe it and allow it, just feel it,
That's
right?
that I just wrote down feel. Like so that isn't that the answer for emotion is to feel it?
Emotions need to be felt. Anxiety needs to be managed
Yeah.
because in a real fight or flight situation, in a real dangerous situation, have you ever taken martial arts or
Yeah.
you were in the, so any kind of combat fighting, anything, I think everybody knows you don't want to be tense and holding your breath,
Right.
right?
Right.
You want to be loose and breathing so you can fight or get the heck out of there. So even in real danger, the answer is always, like here's a oh shit, right?
Right.
What am I going to do about it? That's with real danger. Most of this is just problems or maybe just emotion. So what am I feeling right now? And feel it. You can't stay happy. You can't stay sad. You can't stay angry. If you feel it, it will peak and it will pass. It might come again, but generally it's the big grief at first. And later you can think about that person and feel some pain, but you can also remember why are you sad in the first place? Well, because say grandma, I loved grandma. I used to have the greatest times with grandma. But if you don't grieve her, you can't talk about it. You can't think about it because it just gets all worked up.
So if you have these things intertwined
Mm-hmm.
and you get the anxiety down and you're focused on the grief, how do you, it seems like it gets intertwined because so the emotion would seem to me, from my experience, from what I've seen, it probably
Yeah.
even felt like once they start feeling the grief, then the anxiety creeps right back in.
Okay.
And so how do you keep those separate? You got to focus on.
You just, as soon as it creeps back up, right? You got to notice it. I mean, here's the thing. People, men especially, but people in general, are so horrible about paying attention to what's going on with their bodies.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm a work in
It's
progress, but yeah, it's
it's the most simple thing in the world to be. I can be talking with you and notice, oh, I'm a little tense, and just bring it down. Um,
how do you work on that? Because that's something I struggle with is
Practice.
like listening to my body. Like how you sit with yourself, a couple meditate. Like
Well,
what's the
yeah. Let me ask you a question that I almost always start in the first session with,
yeah.
which is, what or who is the most important relationship that you're involved with
Oh,
in your life? Like, what's the most important
my
relationship?
kids for sure.
Okay. So most people will say the kids, their spouse, if they have one, God,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I always challenge that. I
I
say,
know.
I
I know what you're gonna
disagree.
say. Yeah, I know what
Yeah.
you're gonna say. You're gonna say the
What,
self.
absolutely.
Yeah, I didn't think of
Be-
it.
because here's the deal, because your relationship with yourself,
Yeah.
if it's bad, it'll interfere with every one of those other relationships. It'll make things worse. If it's good, it will at least stay out of the way. And more likely, it'll help you connect and help you to go after and be able to communicate. So if you are neglecting yourself by not paying attention to what's going on with your body, that's horrible. And that's not helpful to your son or you have how many
Daughters.
kids?
2 daughters.
Two daughters.
Yeah.
So if you don't take good care of dad,
Yeah.
you can't be as fully involved with them. Now, again, working with first responders or working with any dad, like you would die for either one of your daughters, I'm sure,
100%. Absolutely. No
right?
question. Yeah.
And I would respect that. If a train was coming, they were caught on the track, and the only way you could save one of them is to push him as it takes you out, I'd say that's a hell of a dad. And you were true to yourself. You were true to your love for your daughter. But the vast majority of life situations aren't like that.
No, that's true.
You can live for your daughter.
Yeah.
And by living, you model it for her, and you'll be closer to each one of them. And does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. I mean, there's no better. I have a guy I'm coaching. I was telling him the other night, there's no better motivation in the world. I don't think than doing it for your children. Like for
Yeah,
me personally, like
yeah,
that will get me to do a lot of things I don't want to do. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Because it's love for them. I mean, the deepest love.
Absolutely. That I mean more than anything else, that's what's important to us. So like we got a smart part of our brain. I would hate to have a head injury and get dumber than I am, but I'd rather have that go than have my capacity to love go. You know, it's the deepest part of who we are is who we care about and what we care about. And if you teach, with your daughters, you're probably different than if you had sons because we can't help
Oh
it.
man,
Like we're
yeah,
going to teach, we'll be a little more tender and emotional with the daughter and a little more like suck it up, son. Um,
right.
but they'll learn from what we teach them and from what we model to them. So if you're like, oh yeah, for you, all the emotion in the world, but oh me, no, I'm fine. I don't have emotion. No, they're going to get somewhere in between. They're going to learn both. So if you model taking good care of yourself, they'll learn to take good care of themselves as well.
How much of the grief work and feeling it involves a couple of things: self-worth, like feeling like you have the ability to handle it. How much of it that is a factor? And then, um, the ability, the capacity to self-soothe, even though those emotions are they're coming, or they're there, or they're lingering or whatever. Like, how much of those types of things, how much other things play a part in just feel it?
Well, first, I always harp on proper use of our words. Okay. So when I say feeling, though I get sloppy too, but what I mean is a true emotion: happy, sad, angry, guilty. And it's about what I care about. So there, I say there's no such thing as the feeling of you're not worthy, or the feeling of you can't handle it. That's a thought.
Okay.
And I would ask the person, well, when you have that thought, describe what you're feeling. And almost for sure, I would say that it's anxiety.
Yeah.
There's that negative thinking
Yeah.
going on. I can't handle it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah. No, completely.
Relax and breathe and tell me what's important to you. And that's where, I mean, thumos is what the Greeks called the spirit, right? That's that fighting spirit. That's what neither one of us are Marines, right? But like
No.
it's esprit de corps. It's right. It's they're good at that. That is, and that's where our power comes from anyway. It comes from our heart, what we care about.
Yeah.
So that's where we cut our own power off.
Oh, God, this is oh man. This requires, I mean, I say this all the time, and I've said it, I don't know how many times this week. This requires work, right? This is tough stuff, right? I mean, you got to put some work in to really kind of be able to not only master is the right word, because I don't know that you ever do master, but at least get better
No,
at
I
it.
haven't,
Yeah.
but you can get
Yeah.
better and better. It's
Yeah.
practice. And it's
So
super, the thing is, it's super simple. It actually, it's always check first for anxiety, breathe and relax. Then ask yourself if you're feeling anything. If you are, feel it, right?
yeah.
And there's a time to not feel it. There's a time to set it aside and say, okay, right now is not the time. Okay, in the middle of the checking out at the market or whatever, it's not the time to like fully grieve your grandma, right? If it just comes out, okay, you can just say, I'm sorry, I'm just thinking about my grandma. It's fine.
Sure, sure.
But it makes sense to say, oh, okay, I need to push that down for now. But doing it knowingly and then revisiting it is healthy and effective. Um, Doing it automatically without realizing it is not. And working with cops or soldiers, they absolutely are a nurse in the ER, or you absolutely have to cut yourself off from that raw emotion in order to do certain things.
Yeah.
But then what do you do with it? Right? That's
Well,
how we
and
prevent.
I feel like that was the problem in my marriage in some ways, was I never
Yeah.
got back to it. Like,
Yes.
whatever it was is just like, no, 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 not now, but later
But
never came for
but
me.
then when? Yes. I think that's like so common. Like that's so normal in an unhealthy way. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I want to. Well, one more thing on this sort of topic. Do you subscribe to? And I've heard this before, and I'm not. I've never really practiced it or recommended it, but how we're talking about it here, it kind of makes me curious. Do you subscribe to, like, sort of planning your grief? Like, okay, sit down for 15 minutes and just let it out, and do
Sure.
that twice a day or once a day or whatever. Is that something that you tell people to do, or you think is beneficial?
It's not something I regularly do. I think I have had those kind of conversations before, but as you present it to me, absolutely, right? Principle number one is when the emotion comes, tune into it. And unless there's a reason like the examples I just gave, feel it then. That's best. But if you can't feel it then, or you haven't grieved or processed the anger or whatever it is about something, then yes, and especially you're busy, like, and who isn't, then taking the time to breathe, relax, put that in your mind and let it come up. That absolutely, that would be very helpful.
Yeah. Okay. It's something that I've seen, and I was just always like, I don't know if that makes any sense, but I now that we're describing it kind of this way, it definitely
It can just
does.
be it can be hard to go in and out of it until you get good at it, But that's what I do in session is, I will go, okay, tell me this situation. Now describe it to me. Now I want you to feel, oh, I don't feel it right now. Okay. And sometimes I have to kind of move on with the conversation, but sometimes it's just like, now, wait a minute. You told me this is an important thing to you. Are you taking this seriously? And usually, I mean, get anxiety will come up if they're fighting it, and we can fight it to ourselves.
Sure. Absolutely.
It's going to be in the body, and if you relax and there's nothing there, maybe you don't need to, or maybe it's just not the time. But that's the big test: is can you relax, or are you fighting it without knowing it, or intentionally doing it?
Oh, this is fascinating shit. Okay, let's shift to anger because that's something that I know I have struggled with
I
my
love
entire
anger.
life. I always feel like anger is a bit of a mask, and I think you kind of mentioned that a little bit in here.
Can be.
Yeah, I've always felt like it's, or at least I came to the conclusion that it's in general, unless it's getting you to do something, it just literally fight, right?
Yeah.
Um, and most of the time, like we said earlier, that doesn't really happen. Then usually it's just a cover for something because as men, we have learned that that's the one thing that we can express. So all these other
Women cry
things,
and we act angry.
absolutely, and but so there's all these other things to sort of get lumped underneath it. So I always kind of feel like anger is just if someone's really super angry, I feel like they've got a lot of shit underneath that they just really need to get into. Am I wrong? I mean, I know anger is an emotion, but it seems to me like it's always just covering something.
Well, if what you mean by angry, and I suspect this is what you're talking about, is red faced,
Yes.
um, tense,
Yeah. Fuck that guy. I'm gonna beat his
mother,
ass. Yeah.
and right,
Yeah.
that's not anger.
That's
That's
not.
irritability.
All right.
That's the
Okay.
fight side of fight or flight. So again, fight or flight,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
The physiology is the same whether you can experience it as flight, which means you're feeling fear, or you can experience it as fight, which means you're feeling irritable and it looks like anger. And like probably most violence happens out of that because we lose control.
So that's
If
not anger. Okay. So what the
it's not anger, there might be anger underneath it, but that's not anger.
okay. So
So
what is
what
anger?
truly um so like if I like somebody harmed one of my children,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm
right?
there. I'm with you.
Yeah, right. And if I was not allowing anxiety to get in the way, if I was just feeling the anger, right? Um, you hear my voice, it's already come down because I'm relaxing. And I'm gonna feel this. Most people describe it as either a heat or a power. But anger feels good. It's
Hmm.
powerful, right? And it's gonna want to come up and come out towards whoever I'm angry at. And I'm gonna be aware of just who I'm angry at and why. And there's gonna be an urge to act on it. And the urge may be helpful or it may not be helpful. But if I'm relaxed and I'm feeling it, I'm not afraid of it, I can still, my intellect is still engaged. It's like, I want to kill this motherfucker. Man, would it feel good. That make you smile. Um, but is that going to be helpful in the situation? Very rarely is it going to be unless it's a situation where you're right
Right.
there,
What
right?
are the,
You can
yeah,
legally commit, you can kill
yeah,
legally
yeah.
because it was in that moment.
Self-defense type stuff. Yeah, yeah.
But if it's after the fact, if somebody harms you, one of your daughters,
Right.
verbally, physically,
Yeah.
there's going to be anger, probably a significant amount, depending on the situation.
Sure.
And there's going to be an urge to confront that person. And if that's where we can be engaged and aware and decide like what is going to be helpful for me to do. You mentioned earlier action. Yeah, there's always an urge with an emotion. And with anger, it has to do with injustice towards what you care about, and the urge is to fix it, and the urge is to bring justice, if possible. Right. So it may be I want to kick this fucker's ass,
Right.
but no, I'm just going to go to jail and whatever. So, but what I am going to go do is go have a conversation with them and I'm going to stay calm and cool, and I'm going to let him know if he ever does that again. Or you know, I mean, there's so many scenarios you try to come up with,
Sure.
but real anger is calm and power, clarity of thought, and an urge to deal with that. And sometimes it's often about the past, and there's nothing we can do about it. But you can imagine doing something about it, and there's nothing wrong. Matter of fact, it's very helpful to like, if I got a hold of that guy, I would, I would kill him. I would torture him. It would, and again, you'll start smiling if you're really feeling that, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is, it will pass, and you'll be like, okay, well, that I can't do that.
Right. Right.
It sure would have been fun though, right? And if people, people who have religious values often say like, well, you're not supposed to have those kind of thoughts. I go, well, uh, I don't know if you walk on water, but I don't. The human nature is we have those kind of thoughts. Even Jesus showed anger. He cleared out the money launderers and different things, right? Or said, take this cup from me, like real emotion, but then still chose to go forward and face what he faced.
So it's how do you differentiate in the moment, or can you, or is that the differentiation? Is like if you can be mindful of, yeah, I'm really angry
I am angry
versus
right now.
like you just fly into your fists start flying, right? I guess
Yeah,
that's not anger if you're
it could be mixed together, right? I mean, if you were right there when that happened, but here's the deal: if somebody's attacking your daughter right in front of you, you're not going to have any kind of conflict with yourself.
no,
You're
no,
just going to act.
yeah,
You're just
100%.
going to fight, and you're going to just let them have it.
Versus getting
Um,
cut off in traffic and like hanging out the window and flipping people off and I'll fucking kick your ass type of shit. Like that's not really anger.
Road rage is so common.
Yeah,
There's there's something about being separated from the person in your vehicle. One, you're not facing them,
yeah,
right?
yeah, for
And
sure.
two, almost always we're tense.
Yeah,
We're having anxiety. We're in a hurry, right? And do we even need to be in a hurry? Probably not.
yeah.
But if you needed to be in a hurry, you should still relax and pay attention to the lanes that open or whatever, like to be able to operate like race car drivers. I don't think they white knuckle and hold their breath during the race.
Yeah.
They got to be relaxed to make 500 laps or whatever they do.
Right.
Right. So road rage, when you go off like that, it's usually because you're holding your breath and your fight is just going through the roof.
And so there's probably underlying things that, like you said, there's underlying things there, right? There's
Yeah.
anxiety, there's whatever. I'm running late, even if you aren't, or whatever, or I need to get there quickly or whatever. So it's not just a pure emotion.
There's stressors of some kind. Those stressors might be meaningful. You might have just had an argument with your wife or ex about whatever, or about the children, right? So there's a lot of emotion going on,
Yeah.
or it might be that you're running late. Um, but here's the key over and over is always paying attention to your body. And anytime there's anxiety, it's never helpful. It's not helpful in combat, in real life and death, and it's not helpful for sure when this is just a problem that needs to be dealt with or a
So
feeling that needs to be felt.
if I'm hearing you correctly, what you're saying is anytime you have an emotion or a feeling or whatever, and maybe you can correct me there on the term, but you
Yeah.
always check in with your body to see it, and that will tell you whether or not it's an anxiety thing or an emotion thing.
Absolutely. So I have I educate people on the different parts of our brain.
Yeah.
So I use self and rule. So self is survival part. I talk about the educate, understand what that's the fight or flight. That's right. And it's rarely,
Yep.
that's what hangry is. Our blood sugar
Right.
is low and we go into fight mode because we need food. But if we breathe and relax, we'll be okay, right? Or we haven't got enough sleep. So we're irritable. But if we breathe and relax, we'll still be tired, but we won't go off on the neighbor or whatever. So the E is emotion. Check for emotion. Always check to see if like, did you just need to manage your anxiety and it was just up because it always is until you understand this, or was there something else there? And then you try to let yourself feel it. And then the L in itself is logic. That's where okay. So if I'm relaxed and I'm having an emotion, I can think logically and decide, okay, what do I need to do about this?
Yeah.
And the F is the fundamental rules you live by, or another way to think about it, is your relationship with yourself. So again, if you're a patient of mine and you come back to me after we talk about all this stuff and you're like, oh yeah, I keep forgetting to pay attention to my body and I lost it again. I'm like going, okay, well, what am I supposed to do with the neglectful patient? What can I do about that? Like, if that's how you want to treat yourself, okay.
Yeah.
Well, no, I don't want to. Okay, good. I'm glad you don't want to treat yourself that way. So, like, how serious are you going to take this? Right. So and I'll just go run through the rule part real quick. I know it's a lot
Oh,
of
sorry.
information,
Sorry. Go ahead.
but that's the different parts of ourself, and then the rule is just how do you apply it. So the R is for your relationship with yourself. Like that's number one. If you're gonna ignore what's going on or abuse yourself, right? So we like any relationship's either attentive and paying attention. Like I bet you pay attention to your daughters and what they need, and you try to be there for them.
Absolutely.
But if you were neglectful of them, you would ignore their needs. You would ignore the trying to get a hold of you, right?
No.
Or if you're abusive to them, you would pay attention, but then you would say things to harm them, right? Those are the three types of relationships: attentive, neglectful, or abusive. Most people are very neglectful to themselves, especially when I'm talking about these different parts. Part of it's just because they don't know. Like, who teaches you this?
No,
You
yeah,
know?
nobody.
And then, we can get abusive by, I'm such an idiot. I'm such a loser. I did it again. Or,
Right, right,
that kind of thing. Or we can drink too much or just not eat right, and whatever.
right.
And so the relationship is first. Relationship with yourself needs to be attentive. I'm going to take care of myself so I can be there for my family. Then the rest follows easy. Rule is U is for unmanaged anxiety. Look for it. Is there any unmanaged anxiety? If there is, manage it.
Yeah.
L is label and attend to emotion. Am I feeling anything right now? Yeah, I'm kind of angry. Okay, feel it.
Yeah.
And then the E is now examine and decide. Like, what do I need to do anything besides feel it? Yeah, I need to talk to my boss. I'd like to kick his ass, but that probably won't be helpful.
Yeah.
But I can't sit down and talk to him and say, "Hey, I'm not okay with this. I don't like
Yeah.
this." Right? Talk calmly, from relaxed. I can do that. I can be angry and still do that.
That just brings up so much stuff. So for me, I have a lot of tension, like my jaw for sure. I notice it, but it's
Okay.
always there, right? The back of my shoulder blades, like in the middle of my back, up at the upper
Mm-hmm.
back. I mean, I feel it. I'm in tune to it, but
Okay.
I can't ever seem to get, not never, because
That's like, yeah.
obviously,
Okay, that's like saying I'm very aware that I ignore my daughter's needs.
yeah, but
Deep.
what, I don't
I'm
know what the
aware
fuck
of it.
I don't know what the fuck to do about it, I
Okay.
guess.
No, I get it, right? It's so chronic. It's been there forever.
Yes.
And our society, you see it everywhere. You see people stressed out everywhere, right? And people just think that's normal. But I always leave it, that's fight or flight. So if you think about, I'm having fight or flight right now in my jaw,
Hmm.
like that doesn't make sense.
No.
If I say I'm tense, oh, okay. Yeah, everybody's tense.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm having fight or flight. Oh, wait, there's nothing.
Yeah.
There's no threat right now. Ah,
Yeah.
I can feel like, so it just takes, you got to label it, right? Like earlier when you're saying, okay, this makes sense, get the anxiety away, feel the emotions, but then anxiety is going to want to come back. Yep.
Yeah.
So you just until it becomes a habit, like you're just replacing the habit of ignoring with the habit of attending until it's normal. And other things you can do is like, have you ever been to a masseuse and really felt what it is like to relax?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I
Okay.
mean, it's unfortunately rare, but yes, I
Yeah.
have for sure.
But it's a good way to like know the difference, right? To like, um, and so what I recommend is progressive relaxation is just head to toe, tuning in, tightening and relaxing, gets the blood flowing, and breathing from your belly. Those are the two things.
Yeah.
And you got to look for it. So if you let your jaw loose,
Yeah.
but as your leg bouncing, right? It could just move. So you just go, okay. And it just takes practice. It just takes the doing of it.
Is it breath work too, or is that a big part of it, or is it just telling yourself like, all right, relax, bro? Like, you know what I mean?
Relax and breathe. It's always breath work. It doesn't have to be complicated. So like I'll give a thing that takes a person through progressive relaxation where they spend 15, 20 minutes, especially if they have sleep problems, and just go from head to toe, tensing and relaxing everything. Usually they're going to be asleep by then if it's at night. Um, and the other thing is breathing from your belly. Like we are programmed, especially men, I think, but women probably do this to an extent, to hold. You're in the military, like you went to boot camp. They call it boot camp in the
Oh,
Navy.
yeah. Smart
Do
ass.
you stand there like kind of
Hell no.
relaxed? No,
No.
you stand attention, right? Gut, stomach in, chest
Yeah.
out, right?
Yes, sir.
That looks good, looks squared away. And, by the time we're teenagers as guys, we're doing that anyways because we want to look good for the babes.
Yeah, that's true.
But when your girls were little babies, if you remember them in their crib, that's not natural. They breathe through
Yeah.
their bellies. It's a diaphragm. That's what fills our lungs and empties our lungs really efficiently. And when we tighten that up, right, it's not efficient. And so if we're like that anyways, and then we have a thought about some stressful thing, and now we're getting even tighter, and now we're not breathing. And what do you need more than anything to survive is to have good oxygen. And so now, like, it amps up the whole system, and that panic attack comes from that.
Mm. Okay, let's talk. I
I
just
know it's a
I
lot.
wrote down a couple of things, so I don't know if I want to dive into that, but let me write down panic attack so I don't forget that because I've had them and
Okay.
they fucking suck. I don't like them.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so is it a matter of having a plan to do these types of things every day? And I don't know if I think most men are like this. We're logical and we're like, okay, what's the plan?
Yeah.
How many times a day, how often, how long, what am I doing, who, what, when, where, why, how, all that kind of stuff. Like, do I have to do that, or is it in the moment, or is it both? I'm guessing it's both.
All the above until it's just natural. Okay. So, this is foreign. Like you said, you
It
chronically
is
walk around tight. Okay. So
absolutely.
that's fight or flight. You are in some level. Fight or flight could just seem normal. It doesn't even like I don't feel anxious or irritable. That's your baseline. That means you're already half caught. It doesn't take
Yeah,
much to go much higher, right?
this is true.
So, you can start off with a timer on your watch or your phone that goes off every so often to where and you just check in. And then you're probably going to go, oh, yeah, there it was. I was tight
Yeah. Oh yeah.
until you just get, so you can use things like that as reminders. Um, start your day every morning, end at night, but there's so many opportunities in between. But
True.
what you want to get is to where it's just, it's your natural state. Think of
Yeah.
being, did you take Taekwondo or what'd you take?
Yeah, I did uh some Taekwondo, some Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and some Muay Thai boxing too.
Okay. So I took Taekwondo and Tang Sudo, which are very similar.
Mm.
Um, and I'm a yellow belt, so nothing far.
Oh,
But
nice.
but when you're getting ready for that, you're ready, you're loose, you're
Yeah,
breathing, right? Paying attention.
yeah,
Like, why not be that way through life?
yeah,
What's next? What's next?
yeah.
Or even more relaxed because you got nothing next, like you're watching the TV, but you're relaxing, right? But never is it helpful to be tense. What does it help you with?
No, it doesn't for sure. And that's what I
Right?
mean. I can feel it. I can feel it.
Yeah.
And I know that I can tell that I'm stressed out before I think that I'm stressed out. Like I'll
Yeah.
feel it and I'll be like, God damn, that's so tight. But I don't even really know why. Right?
I'll tell you why. You're stressed out because you're not managing your anxiety. It's as simple as that. We don't have to have a reason except for the chronic nature of our society and our own histories of not knowing that was a problem. Again, like trying to look good. Yeah,
Right. Right.
relax. I mean, that's why sometimes you can relax and there isn't an emotion underneath it because it just was you were neglecting taking care of that. And people neglect when they don't know. Like you give your kid you have a 16-year-old gets a new car, has never been taught how to check the oil or anything. She's neglecting that car, but it's not because of anything except for lack of knowledge,
Yeah.
right? You don't know what you don't know.
No, I mean, there's so much of that, or all of this,
Yeah.
all aspects of mental health stuff. I mean, I guess we probably had a health class in high school or whatever, but we didn't
Yeah.
we didn't learn any of this kind of shit. We certainly didn't learn anything that was anything of this nature that would have been fucking helpful in an adult
Yeah.
life where it's, life's tough, man. Modern life is hard. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. It's incredibly hard.
Yeah.
There's
And
pressures and difficulties around every fucking corner, it feels
absolutely.
like.
And you can either be your best friend or your worst enemy. And being your best friend doesn't mean neglecting who you care about. It's just the opposite. It's
Yeah.
just the opposite.
You're not wrong, obviously, but it's such a foreign concept
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting there, right? I really, really
Mm-hmm.
honestly think I am. Like, I'm at least listening to my body, but whereas before I
Yeah.
didn't even know you could listen to your body,
Yeah.
right?
Well, this podcast, this is what this is all
Absolutely.
about, right? Yeah.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I do it. But let's shift a little bit. Let's talk about panic attack or
Mm-hmm.
panic attacks.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had many in my life, but I've had a
Good.
few, and they're scary and shitty, and I don't like them. Um, what's going on there, and what do you do?
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's sort of all the same kind of stuff we've already been talking about, but like,
Yeah. Yeah. Typically, right?
yeah,
I mean, there can be real physical causes triggering it, but in most cases, um, we, uh, when you experience high anxiety, short of a panic attack, high anxiety is not fun in
no.
itself, right? And then if you're in high anxiety, which again goes to that, you can be half cocked and then you can get fully cocked. And then you have the thought like, oh, there's something wrong with my heart. It just skipped a beat.
Oh my
Am
God.
I, am I going to have a heart attack?
You're fucking
Right.
preaching to the yeah. It's like you're
Right.
describing me. Yeah, 1,000%. Yes.
And then
Yes.
if you're really anxious and you're holding your breath and you have that thought, is that going to make you more calm or it's going to go higher,
Oh
right?
yeah, no, yeah, but for sure
So
higher. Yeah.
people have the thought, usually it's either I'm going to die or I'm going to
Yes.
go crazy, lose control, like freak out.
Yeah.
And those are scary thoughts and you're already rarely are you just immediately in a panic attack, rarely. Um and then if you've ever had a panic attack, any sign of anxiety, or at least, whatever the particular trigger was, if it was a health thing or confined space or something,
Both of those.
you have the thought. I'll tell you a story. Okay. So I never had a panic attack in my life.
Mm.
And me and some buddies we're going to, I think we were going to Las Vegas. My buddies had a little plane. There was four of us in this little Cessna, I think it was.
Mm.
And we're getting ready to take off and it's pretty tight. Right. And I'm thinking, oh, I'm thinking about one of my patients, right?
Yeah.
He's this big guy, big football player that had problems with panic attacks. And I was thinking, like, oh man, he wouldn't be able to handle being in this thing. He would start freaking out. And by me having that thought, it made my anxiety go up. And then I had the thought, I can't freak out. I'm a psychologist with my buddies. Like that's the worst thing in the world that could possibly happen. So now I'm thinking of that, right? And I started going into a full panic. And I'm just like, and if you've been on a plane like that, you're wearing headphones so people can talk, right? And
Yeah.
they're talking about whatever, and I'm just starting to freak out. I just take that
Yeah.
off so I can't hear what they're saying. And I just started thinking, what would I say to Joe because I've seen him have panic attacks in front of me many times. And I said, okay, yeah, have the full panic attack. You're fine because I know he's not going to die. He's been in the ER so many times. I go, or you can like start breathing and calming yourself down. And I did that. And we're
Yeah.
up and away. And a few minutes
Yeah.
later, I got on it and I'm laughing. And I tell my buddies what just happened. They had no clue. I was like full panic or like as close as you can be. Right. And that's what happens. And you become afraid of anxiety. Oh no, now you're screwed. You're afraid of anxiety. I'm having anxiety, and it just goes. The answer is always breathe and
Yeah.
relax. Hopefully,
Yeah.
you've had checkups, so your heart's probably fine. But you know what? If you have a bad heart, the best thing you can do, guess what?
Yeah.
Breathe and
Relax.
relax, and then go to the doctor.
So we talk about it in the article in it's sort of the goal, right? You call it measured emotion, right?
Yeah,
Um,
metriopathia, as what
yeah,
Plato called it.
yeah. How what is what?
Okay, that's two Greek words. We use them in our language. Metrio are metered or measured,
Hmm.
like the metric, right? It's measured, and pathos it is emotion. So
Okay.
measured emotion. So as opposed to Stoicism has become very popular in the last decade or less.
Right.
And Stoics teach apathy, apathos, without emotion. They kind of teach just to be address this, what I'm talking about, strictly through reason for the
I
most
got
part. They've gotten better with some other anxiety management, but that's kind of the gist is like emotions aren't reasonable.
you. Right.
Um, Plato recognized 2,500 years ago that we have a part of us, he called it the spirited part or the thumos. That is a legitimate part of us. It's our limbic system.
Mm,
That is a natural and healthy. It is, again, it's the part that matters most, in my opinion. It's what you care about.
mm,
So you don't treat the emotions as a weakness. It's actually your strength.
mm.
It's what motivates you to live for your family, to work hard, to die for your brother, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it should be measured. It shouldn't rule us.
Yeah.
So if you get the anxiety out of the way, you can be fully enraged or fully in grief, and you can process that emotion and still be aware, like this is, I just need to cry. It
Yeah.
doesn't bring grandma back. Of course it doesn't. It helps me adjust.
Yeah. What do you say to a guy that does struggle with like that crying piece? Like
Mhm.
I got a guy that I'm working with, and he's like, I'm tired of crying, and I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
that's it's there's freedom in every drop. They feel free to cry. We come with that, we come with tear ducts. Our model has tear ducts, so
Yes, absolutely.
So what do you say to people like that? The guys that are like that, they struggle with feeling okay with crying.
Yeah. Well, so I'll go back to the anxiety part. So first off, I want them, okay, so tell me about, like, describe what it felt like.
Hmm.
Because we've all seen it, we've all done it. Um, we've cried trying not to cry.
Yeah.
Right?
Good luck.
We're fighting it. We're choked up. I mean,
Right.
literally choked
Yeah.
up is an anxiety response. The smooth muscles, which you can't consciously control, are contracting because at some level inside of you, you think, you believe, you've learned that it's not okay to cry. So you
Yeah.
try not to cry. So what happens is it leaks out, and
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like coitus interruptus, right? You're having sex and then you stop it before like this full resolution, like that's not satisfying.
No.
If you're crying from real sadness, there should be relief on it. You should feel better on the other side. So it may be that he's letting himself cry, but it's not just really letting himself cry.
Yeah.
Also, sometimes people cry when they're angry. Um,
True.
they're trying not to be angry, and tears come. And women, stereotypically suffer from this more because, again, there's that thing like women aren't supposed to be angry, right?
Right.
And there's bad men that will not respond well if they stick up for themselves,
Sure.
right? So that's a defense
Absolutely.
mechanism, and we'd say put tears on the fire, so to speak, right? And men can
Hmm.
do that too, though.
Yeah.
So just because there's tears doesn't mean you're really feeling it, or maybe you're only feeling 10%.
How do you sort of differentiate that? Because if you're a guy who you're crying multiple times a day, but yet it is that sort of stifled, but to
Uh-huh.
you it feels like I'm always crying. Like
Yeah.
how do you how do you properly measure that, or how do you help someone? How do I help someone measure that and be like, yeah, you're crying a lot, but you're holding back. And so, like, how do you?
I would use that method that you described earlier, where he intentionally takes time away from the rest of his
Uh,
life,
yeah,
the
yeah,
moment,
yeah,
takes time
yeah,
out, and the focus is on truly relaxing your body, and that means everything. So, like you said, the jaw, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, he's probably got, again, tension, right?
Oh,
You hear people
yes, I hear.
people who
Yeah,
are angry, and their voice gets really high. Well, that's tension. That's trying not to be angry, or trying not to cry. So get them to focus on, okay, I'm going to take this time and I'm going to let it out as much. I want to, people are usually pretty good at being able to estimate it. If you ask them, like, well,
sure.
when you cried at noon yesterday, like, if you think about, like, what percentage of that real pain came out,
Yeah,
he'll probably say a pretty low percent. And he starts to pay attention and measure. And so take the time to get as relaxed and cry as, like, And if you've ever heard somebody really in deep grief and not fighting it, like again with a voice, like it's a deep, it's like a moan, like it'll make me cry. And I don't even know the person, right? Like it just like
Yeah.
hits you, like whoa, that's such pain, right? So that's how you know the difference. Like, are you really letting it out? And then you get a big uh, emotions in waves. It can be a little wave or it can be a big wave, and that can be with or without anxiety. If it's
Right.
without, that's all it was. If it's with, that means you're suppressing it to some extent.
My out of my own pure curiosity, how did you get into this? Like, because I mean, this is clearly your passion. I can see it. I can
Yeah.
feel it. I love it. It's
Yeah.
making me emotional a little bit, honestly.
Yeah, I hear you.
How did you get to
Well,
that? Like, what
I
what
mean,
led you
so
to this?
like even in high school, I was interested in psychology, trying to figure myself out. And so, I went in, I got my degrees, and and I worked early on when I was working on my master's. I was working at a psychiatric hospital, a private psychiatric hospital. So it was for average people
Hmm.
dealing with depression, anxiety problems. And there was a psychiatrist there. I ended up buying his office and made it my office years later. Um, but he introduced me to a type of therapy. It's called intensive short-term dynamic psychotherapy. And years ago, this guy who was kind of Freudian taught said like this Freudian stuff kind of makes sense, kind of works, but often doesn't. And he started videotaping every patient. And he did, thousands of hours, thousands of patients, and started adjusting the treatment to what was working and what wasn't working. And now today, there's people all over that videotape their sessions to
Mm-hmm.
review, to because it's not easy doing this with a person. Your own stuff can come up, right?
Sure. Oh, I'd
As well as
imagine.
give it to the patient to go watch so they can see themselves and learn from it. But what they found was he found that the physiological differences between the route of anxiety in our body and the route of emotions, and what relief came from, full experience of the emotion, which means I'm aware of it. I know what it's about. I feel the power of it. Like if it's anger, the urge, and I have the impulse, I'm aware of the impulse. And I want to, if it's a little bit, I want to talk to you. If it's a lot, I want to kill you. Or
Yeah.
maybe I want to torture you slowly, right?
Right.
Because here's the thing about it, like most people aren't like that way naturally, but we spend years of suppression.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's a big anger that wants to come up over a small thing. Well, it's because it's not about that one thing. It's about,
Yeah.
especially if you talk about relationships with your wife, or
Sure.
somebody. How many times did you not process that emotion but
Oh,
suppress?
fucking. I couldn't count. Couldn't
And then when
fucking
it finally
count.
comes out, it's all a tantrum. It's an explosion of this fight or flight.
Yeah.
And then that just reinforces suppressing it because, oh my gosh, I act like a crazy man. I, I punched the wall. I didn't want to punch the wall.
Fuck, man, they really ought to teach this shit in schools, you know?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I could have avoided
Yeah.
a lot of fucking pain. Well, how
Yeah.
much? So what was that type of therapy? What was
ISTDP, intensive short term dynamic psychotherapy. So long, it's just, describing it's intensive because we put a lot of pressure. Like somebody's telling me that they're angry, and I say, like, describe it. And I
right?
put pressure on them to actually feel the emotion and get the
Mm,
anxiety out of the way if I'm doing therapy or something. Like because I'm like, oh, hey, what are we here for?
right,
Like, you're not here to help me. Yeah, I'm
right,
getting
right,
paid, but other people, I can help other people. I get much more
right, right.
satisfaction, right? What are you gonna how what do you want out of this? Right. So I put
Yeah.
pressure on the person to give a shit about themselves.
So how much of so it doesn't sound like it sounds like it branched off from Freudian, which is obviously look at your
Yeah.
childhood, you wanted to bang your mom or whatever he
Right.
whatever
Right.
whatever
At
whatever
least
he
he did. At
right,
least
right,
Freud did.
right, whatever his theories were, which I'm not knocking. I mean, he's the godfather of therapy in a lot of ways, right?
He
So
paved he's like Columbus. He found the wrong place, but he helped.
right. And he did a lot of cocaine apparently, which I
Exactly.
mean it's fun stuff. But anyway, how much of healing and growing has to do with looking at your childhood and looking at your past. It sounds like this type of therapy is not that.
Well, we don't start there. We start with now. What's going on now? Um,
Right.
Often though, so yeah, so we've talked about anxiety, talked about emotion.
Yeah.
We have defenses that get in the way. We rationalize, right? We use the
Sure.
anxiety to defend, to try to, like, we minimize, we avoid, whatever, right? when you can finally break through all that, get the person to really experience, often the anger, the true anger they have towards their wife is only a small part of what they have. Maybe towards their mom, maybe towards, we all
Yeah.
got childhood issues, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so it'll just come up on, again, it'll come up on its own and help resolve.
Do you
And
think it's
sometimes
that's necessary, or can you not look at your childhood, or is everybody different?
everybody's different. And I always say, what's going on now? If that needs to come up, if we,
It
um,
will.
it will, if it needs to
Yeah,
come up. Or sometimes it starts to come up and they go, I don't want to go there. And I'm like, okay, that's your right, right?
yeah,
But the thing is, how are you doing now? You've made progress, great. Like I know there's a bunch of stuff towards, abuse from my mom or my dad or something, and I don't want to go there, but I am managing myself much better. Okay. And if that stuff starts bothering you, now that you're kind of aware it might come up, well, come back, we'll talk about that.
hmm, interesting.
Or you just process it yourself because then now you know how to process it. Like, okay, take 15 minutes and think about when your dad beats you or, whatever it might have been. And just feel those emotions. Again, we don't feel emotions to change the situation necessarily. Like
Right,
grief doesn't change the death or the loss.
right,
Um, but that's true. This is what often people have a hard time understanding with anger. Like, what use is it me to be angry at my dad? He's been dead for 10 years. Well, it's not that you need to be angry. It's that here it is. You are angry. It's never been processed. So just process, just feel it. Not because we're looking for it, but because here it is.
yeah,
Feel it because most people understand, like, and they'll use it as an excuse, but they'll understand that we don't grieve to bring them back to life. We grieve because we need to grieve.
because
So it's
it's
the same with anger about the past. If it's significant enough and something reminds you of it, sometimes unconsciously, but whatever. You're just like my whatever, right? That's what's really going on underneath that. It just needs to be felt so you can be let go. And because you know what's under that rage? Love. Who can hurt you more than anybody else? The people you love. That's where Freud had it right to an extent. He understood defenses and certain things he was good at getting us started with.
yeah, for sure. Okay, I'm going to cover one more. This is awesome. Thank you so much for doing this. I'm going to
I'm
cover one
enjoying
more
it.
because I'm going to use the resource that I have. What I
Right on.
see a lot. I run a Facebook group. There's almost 8,000 men in there. I work with
Wow.
guys one on one, a very small number, just because I have no capacity, but and I have another private group that's smaller, but it's just a great group of guys, and those guys they're doing the work. The guys in a Discord server, they're really active. Most of them, or the ones that they're diving in, they're working
Right on.
on themselves,
They're
and that
motivated.
yeah, absolutely, 100%. And then there's guys that are in the Facebook group. There's a lot of them, and they're not doing the work. A lot of them, and they're stuck. Now I don't know the percentage. Maybe it's only 10%, they're sometimes they're the loudest ones. How do you get a guy to be unstuck? How do you get a guy to be who has these ruminating thoughts? Like for instance, my ex has a new boyfriend, and I can't stop thinking about this new boyfriend, and he's stuck in this. This is I
What do
can't
you
do I
think's
can't.
what do you think's happening in his body right there?
Well, I know a particular fella, and what he would say is his stomach turns he feels it in his stomach, like that's where it manifests for him in his stomach.
Okay. And if he's like doing but like this is all like anxiety stuff, right?
100%.
So don't start with the thoughts. Again, that's cognitive behavioral therapy. They can get there, but I say don't have you ever tried to reason with somebody who's drunk?
Yeah, good
Doesn't
luck.
work very well, right?
No, it doesn't.
When somebody is anxious, they're drunk on anxiety. They're again, blood flow to the smart part is not going well. Blood pressure's up, stress hormones, and all of that's going on. So that's why, again, remember, that's what rumination is, or worry is. It's anxiety in the body, in the head. It's the problem. What if the problem? What if, right?
Is that to avoid feeling, or is that because it's familiar? Right, you know what I mean?
It can be all the above, but I'd say the number one thing it is the person doesn't realize that they have unmanaged anxiety and they don't know how to manage it. Like, of course they are doing this because my ex is dating somebody. Of course I'm doing that. Well, hold on. When you label it fight or flight, like, is there anything right at this moment attacking? No, right? Breathe and relax, right? And probably, what do you, I mean, like, really, if this is my thought, I'm ruminating about my ex with her new guy. And if I get the anxiety out of the way, it might be like, fucking good on him, lucky guy. Like, or thank you for taking her away. But
Yeah.
most likely it's sadness. I wish that was me, or I wish it could have worked, or they just
Yeah.
need to feel that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But regardless, he's neglecting himself. Either it's a lack of knowledge, um, and we can like we don't want to let it go because that bitch, how dare she do this to me?
Right.
Right? We can just
Yeah.
like wallow in the
Yes.
misery as if it's accomplishing something.
Right. Right.
I mean, anxiety so often feels like we're doing something. And to relax is like we don't care. No, it's you can tune into how you do care.
Man, you hit on something big there. This is the problem, not a problem, but this is one of the struggles that I see in this space. Because we tell people in general, right, that you're going to be okay. It's going to be okay. You could have this great life, and it almost sends a message, and it's not wrong. But here's the thing: when you're in that space, it almost sends a message of invalidation. Like
Yeah.
you shouldn't even be upset about this. What the fuck is your
Yeah, yeah,
problem? It's going to be this awesome thing. Just fucking get it together, man.
No.
And that's not true, right? I mean, it can be great. It can lead to good things, but boy, does it
Right.
fucking hurt.
Yes. So, I mean, I don't know how it's possible to go from this dream and this thing you think you had, and maybe you even did have for a
Yeah,
while,
yeah,
right?
yeah, 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 yeah.
And then go to where you don't have it anymore, and like it's just like okay, right?
Yeah. Right.
So it's okay to not be okay. That's the message that it needs to be. This is the same message. And there's a woman psychiatrist worked with I think she was in the Navy. She worked with combat vets, and I think it's the name of her book, something like that. It's okay to not be okay, right? Combat vets, like they're supposed to like, hey, I'm out. I survived, right? I should be fine, right? I'm not over there dealing with it anymore. I should be fine. No, no, you're not fine because all that stuff you suppressed and you went through that you didn't, you couldn't, you shouldn't take the time out to process in the middle of operating. So that's the message. Like, no, you can be better. You probably will be better if you take care of yourself through it and you feel the pain, you process it. You can learn to be a happier guy, and you can learn to not walk into the same things you walked into before. Maybe it was her and you made a bad choice. Maybe it was you, but now you can be a better you into the next relationship because you're tuned into you.
Yeah, 100%. It's just sometimes when I'll hear these like almost like positive like psychology, which is kind of bullshitty a little bit, right?
Mhm.
Just think it's good or whatever. And there's some truth of mindset and all that kind of thing, I think. But yeah, it can feel an invalidation of all the pain when you're like, just it's fine. You're gonna be fine. Don't worry about it. But
The measure for me always, if you can think the good thoughts and be relaxed and feel good, there you are, right? But if you're trying to think the good thoughts, but you're anxious, you're fighting, right? A, get the anxiety out of the way.
yeah,
B, process the emotions if they're there.
yeah. Dr. Sunday, thanks so much for doing this, man. This is
Hey, Michael,
awesome.
thank you, man. I've enjoyed it.
How do people find you, what you're doing, to get in
Y-
touch, to read, to all that good stuff?
yes. Okay, so I've got a book out on Amazon called Platonomy. Um, and you can find me on, let's see, where am I? Well, I have a drsunde.com, so Sunde. Um, you look for me on Psychology Today. I write mostly on there every
Okay.
week.
Awesome.
Shorter articles. Substack, I got longer. Often I'll do mirror articles. One's more in depth with Substack. The Psychology Today likes short self-help stuff.
Yeah. Awesome. Oh, man.
Yeah.
So thanks so much for doing this. As you know, the last question I ask everyone is what words of wisdom would you impart to a man just beginning his divorce journey?
Yes. And I actually, I tried to prepare for this a little bit. And I haven't looked at my notes this whole time. I want to make sure I look at my notes before I do that. Right.
Go
This is
for
the
it.
core message. The first thing is to say that I'd say is what you're feeling isn't weakness. It's evidence that you loved, you invested, that it mattered to you. The worst thing you can do is treat that as a problem to be solved. Right?
Wow. That's yeah. That's good. That's beautiful, is what that is.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm gonna go cry because this was a really fucking
Right
fantastic
on.
episode. I appreciate it so
That's a
much. Thank you.
strength. Right on. Good,
Thank,
good to talk to you. Hope to talk to you again.
yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for watching and or listening. If you are feeling alone on this journey, please join our Discord server. Becoming a Phoenix is not a solitary act. It is one achieved through community. Our Discord server is just that, a community of men fighting to survive, thrive, and rise from their divorce. Go to risingphoenixpodcast.com/Discord for information on how to join and what is contained in our Discord server. Please join us.